Welcome to We Proletaire. Today, we are going to be discussing the pros and cons of labor unions and the negative connotations that they hold today. If you enjoy in-depth discussions like this, please make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell to stay up to date with our latest content. Modern labor unions have a rich history of advocating for workers' rights and improving labor conditions. However, they also carry a range of negative connotations which have developed over the years. These connotations can affect public perception and influence government policies and business practices. One of the primary negative connotations linked to modern-day unions is the perception of corruption and bureaucracy. Some critics argue that union leadership can become entrenched, prioritizing their own interests over those of the rank-and-file members. This perception is fueled by instances of union leaders embezzling funds or engaging in unethical practices which garner significant media attention. These cases can reinforce the belief that unions are more concerned with self-preservation than representing their members. Strikes and work stoppages, while powerful tools for negotiation, can also contribute to negative perceptions of unions. Critics argue that frequent strikes disrupt business operations, impact the economy, and inconvenience the public. They contend that unions sometimes resort to strikes prematurely, causing economic harm and alienating public support. These actions can lead to the perception that unions prioritize their own agendas over the broader welfare of the community. Modern-day unions often advocate for job security, which can be seen as a negative connotation in the context of market flexibility. Some critics argue that rigid job security provisions can impede a business's ability to adapt to market changes. This perception can lead to friction between unions and employers, with the latter arguing that unions hinder competitiveness and economic growth. The financial aspect of union membership can be another source of negative connotations. Some workers believe that union dues are too high, reducing their take-home pay. Additionally, critics assert that unions drive up labor costs, which can have a direct impact on product or service pricing. This financial aspect can foster a perception that unions are self-serving organizations that ultimately harm the workers they claim to protect. In some cases, unions are seen as resistant to technological innovations and efficiency improvements. This resistance can hinder a business's ability to remain competitive in a globalized and rapidly evolving economy. Critics argue that unions' staunch opposition to changes in work processes and job descriptions can stifle growth and modernization. These negative connotations associated with modern-day unions have tangible impacts on several fronts. First one is legislation and policies. Negative perceptions can influence government policies, leading to legislation that restricts unions' powers, such as right-to-work laws or limitations on collective bargaining rights. The second one is public support. Negative connotations can erode public support for unions, making it more challenging for them to mobilize and achieve their goals. And lastly is the employer-union relations. Perception of adversarial relationships between employers and unions can hinder cooperation and constructive negotiations. Now that we have covered the negative connotations associated with modern-day labor unions, let's jump to the positive side that they bring to the table. 1. Advocacy for workers' rights. Labor unions are known for their steadfast advocacy for workers' rights. They negotiate with employers to secure fair wages, safe working conditions, and other benefits that enhance the overall well-being of employees. Secondly, collective bargaining power. Unions provide workers with collective bargaining power, which allows them to negotiate on a more equal footing with employers. This can lead to better wages, benefits, and job security. Third, workplace safety. Unions often prioritize workplace safety, pressing for improved safety standards and regulations to protect workers from hazardous conditions. They conduct safety training, monitor compliance, and address safety concerns. Next is fair treatment. Unions aim to ensure that workers are treated fairly and not subject to discrimination or arbitrary firings. They protect employees from unjust labor practices and disciplinary actions. Training and skill development is another key role. Many unions offer training programs and opportunities for skill development, helping workers acquire the skills needed for more competitive and higher-paying jobs. Then we have improved working conditions. Unions have played a crucial role in reducing long working hours and advocating for better working conditions. They have been instrumental in achieving workplace benefits such as paid leave and healthcare coverage. Then we have legal protections. Unions have contributed to the creation of labor laws that protect workers' rights and guarantee the right to organize and engage in collective bargaining. The National Labor Relations Act, or NLRA, is an example of such legislation. Next is solidarity and support. Unions foster a sense of solidarity among workers, providing a support network for employees facing workplace issues. Members can seek advice, legal assistance, and financial support during disputes. Then there are the economic benefits. Unionized workers tend to earn higher wages and enjoy better benefits, which can stimulate consumer spending and contribute to economic growth. Next is positive workplace relations. In many cases, unions and employers work cooperatively to maintain a positive relationship, fostering a sense of partnership rather than adversarial conflict. Then we have political advocacy. Unions engage in political advocacy to promote policies that benefit workers, such as minimum wage increases, healthcare reforms, and worker protection laws. Lastly is diversity and inclusion. Unions work to ensure diversity and inclusion in the workplace, promoting equal opportunities for all members regardless of their background. In conclusion, these positive aspects of labor unions demonstrate that they play a vital role in advancing the interests of workers, contributing to improved working conditions, and advocating for fairness and equality in the workplace. While there are negative connotations associated with unions, it's important to recognize their substantial contributions to the workplace and society as a whole. So please just keep all of this in mind as you watch the United Auto Workers strike continue on with the three major automakers in the United States, Ford Motor Company, General Motors, and Stellantis, who have all seen record profits in the past few years. Meanwhile, the working class has kept going backwards. The UAW has contended throughout negotiations that it's asking for a contract that reinstates the protections workers gave up to save the auto industry when the Great Recession threatened to destroy it in 2007 through 2009. But we will dive deeper into this topic in a later video. If you found this discussion insightful, don't forget to like, share, and of course, subscribe for more thought-provoking content. Feel free to share your thoughts and questions in the comments section below. Until next time, we proletaire.